People create extra products because they're afraid of losing a little bit of revenue by leaving certain buyers out. But the problem is, you're actually losing out on a lot of revenue by not maximizing the buyers that would be there if you were louder, prouder, and more consistent about your one flagship product. So it's easy to get distracted. We want to solve scarcity. It's easy to get distracted. We want to feel that feeling of creation. But it doesn't mean you're supposed to create. It doesn't mean you're supposed to add new products right now. Well, then, how do you know if you're supposed to? You have to be able to answer these three questions.
Welcome, everybody, to the Chris Harder Show, where we are making you unapologetic about your pursuit of success, knowing that when good people like you make good money, they can then do great things. My name is Chris Harder, and several times per week, I will bring you epic guests, solo episodes, and every single tool, trick, and skill set you need to grow your business, grow your money mindset, and to grow your wealth to levels that you have never reached before. I've ended up in a unique place in life where I've got the experience, the connections, and all of the secrets that it takes to be successful. And I'm lifting the curtain to reveal it all to you in an effort to help put you in a position of abundance so great that you can then be as generous as possible. So let's lock arms and let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Chris Harder Show, where today I'm grateful for my annual guys trips. You know, one of the things that Lori and I have done really well is, even though we're a couple that does lots and lots of things together, we have done a great job of building separate lives and separate friend groups so that we remain interesting to each other, and more importantly, so that we don't rely on each other to be all things wrapped in one, because that is impossible to rely on your partner for. And so she's developed these friend groups that she does fun things with, and I've developed some friend groups that I do fun things with. And some of those fun things are, I've got an annual guys golf trip that I do with a small group of guys every single year, including my brother. And then I've got an annual guys snowboard trip that I do also each year with a little bit different group of guys. Anyhow, the reason why I use this as my gratitude is I'm coming off my annual guys golf trip, and it always hits at the right time. You know, we've been extra busy. I'm running Frello, and we just are about to launch. The product is done being built. It's amazing, by the way. Like, that should be my other gratitude, that we're finally built and just screaming towards launch. But nonetheless, I've been building Frello, which has been really tiring and really stressful, and also running the personal brand, which is what pays the bills day to day. And Lori's been running the personal brand, of course, which pays the bills day to day, but then running Colosi, which is also very stressful. And so it takes a lot out of us. And so when I say I'm grateful for this guys trip, well, it always comes at the right time because I needed a break. And it was just so fun to let loose and laugh and laugh. I ended up in a laughing fit that I haven't had in years. Like, it was an uncontrollable laughing fit. And so I'm just grateful for the people that I have in my life, the people that I've very purposely curated in my life, so that I know that I've got great human beings that'll always be there just in the moment that I need it. Now, if you're like, what in the world is this guy talking about? I always start all my shows with gratitude. I like to remind you that when you stop and take inventory of what you do have, instead of always worrying about what you don't have right now, well, life's a lot better. You realize that you actually have just enough things going in your favor, maybe not all the ones you want, but just enough things going in your favor to take that next step and to go towards where you really want to end up. And so by me starting the show with gratitude every single day, I'm reminding you to stop and start your day, literally in the middle of your day. Just hit pause on your day and take inventory of what you're grateful for. All right, so now I want to talk about, as we're heading into the new year here, if you should add another product or service. And this is actually one of the most popular questions that we get in our masterminds or when I work with clients. Should I add this product? Should I add this service? I've got this group of people that I don't have anything that's a fit for. And what's crazy is it's both levels of our masterminds that struggle with the same thing. You know, we've got Mentor Collective Mastermind, we call it MCM, and that's for businesses up to $500,000. But then we have our elite level mastermind, which is for businesses over $500,000, but is mostly 7 and 8 figure businesses. So you think like people really have their product creation and their plans really dialed in at that point. But the truth is, it doesn't matter what level you're at, you get distracted by this, you get tempted by this, and you feel like, oh, I've got to be adding another product. And the challenge that I see all the time is that it's almost like an addiction to creation, right? It feels good to create things, or it's an addiction to selling something new to make up for the feeling of scarcity. These are the two reasons why everyone feels like they have to add a product. It's actually not necessarily because it's a fundamentally sound thing for you to do. No, it's because you either feel scarcity and you feel like adding another product would add more money, or you're just addicted to creating because it feels good to create. And if we're being honest, most of us as entrepreneurs, it feels better to create than it does to execute long term. And so, of course, it feels good. Of course, it gets the dopamine hit. Of course, it feels exciting. Like, wait a minute, think of all the opportunity, think of all the money, think of what could be if I added another product or service. But in most cases, you're just adding a distraction that's going to hurt your sales of your current products and services. I know you think you need a product for each person in your audience, but you don't. It's not your responsibility to have a product or service for every level of every person in your audience. It is your responsibility to be really well known for one or two things and let the rest of the demographic go to your peers for the level that they want to serve. That's kind of how it works. You're not supposed to be all things to all people. Matter of fact, it's funny that I opened the episode here talking about my relationship. Lori and I don't expect each other to be all things to each other. And you're not supposed to be all things to all people. You're supposed to be the expert to one segment of people. So you think you need to add a product for each person in your audience, for each level in your audience, but you don't. You need one product that puts you on the map. You need one product that you put 80% of your resources behind. What are your resources? Your time, money, energy, reputation, etc., marketing. So you need one product that you put 80% of your resources behind and become absolutely known for. I mean, think of it this way. Every new product that you create now becomes a separate marketing effort, a separate launch, separate ads, a separate email list if you're doing it properly, separate assets, separate budget, separate everything. And so if you go from 1 to 2 products, you've now cut your resources in half per product. Make sense? If you go from 2 to 3 products or from 3 to 4, you're now taking your resources, your time, energy, marketing dollars, everything, and you're dividing it by 3. You're dividing it by 4. Guys, it's hard enough to market one product really well when you have all of your resources available to you. Now, imagine only having a quarter of them, because that's kind of what happens when you have 4 products. Or imagine only having a third of them, because that's what happens when you have 3 products. And I know we hear all the time, oh, millionaires have on average 7, what do they call it, income sources. They don't mean that they're selling 7 different products. What they mean is that they make their money being really good at 1 or 2 things, and then they take that money and they invest it in maybe another business that's paying them, but it's not their business. Maybe it's in a startup that gives them a nice return. Maybe they take that money and they invest it into equities and assets that are cash flowing. Maybe they take that money and they invest it into properties, income producing properties. But it doesn't mean that they're creating 7 different products. It just means that they take the money that they made from being really good at 1 or 2 products and they start investing it elsewhere, planting seeds that produce side income, side opportunities. And so don't misconstrue when people say, oh, you need 7 different income sources, just like the average millionaire. No, that is not what it's saying. And honestly, it's just a whole bunch of made up bullshit. It really is. My richest friends did one thing and they did it real well. Matter of fact, my richest friends did one thing, they did it really well, and you wouldn't even know who they are from Instagram. Isn't that interesting? So you don't need all of these different products. You need to be really well versed and dialed in on one thing, because if you concentrate all of your resources behind one signature product, not only will your marketing resources go further, but then your word of mouth resources start working on your behalf as well when you go all in on one. Now, when I say go all in on one, I know it sounds like I'm saying you can only have one, and that's also not what I mean. What it means is, like, you've got to have your flagship product. And when that thing is super dialed in and 80% of your time, money, effort, everything went towards it, then you could have another one. Because it's okay to be diversified, but it's not okay to be multi-distracted. Does that make sense a little bit? Actually, guys, hold on a sec. I'm going to interrupt this podcast for something really, really important. And if you've been a long-time listener, you know I have never, ever interrupted my podcast to share something before. But the reason why I believe it's so important is I just had my annual tax and wealth planning meeting. And I've been given access, just like every year, to so many incredible tax saving hacks, so many privileged moves that I can make with my family office, that it's kind of unfair that everybody else doesn't get these. Now, if you're familiar with a family office, you have to have a certain level of wealth to be able to work with one. And most people listening probably can't just go and work with my family office. And so the reason why I haven't brought this up before is I haven't actually had a solution for you until now. A solution, quite frankly, that is so important, I'm interrupting this podcast for it. Now, dear friends of mine started a company a while back called True Wealth. And not only do I trust them dearly, I have watched what they have done with my friends and my clients to be able to coordinate their tax situation, their business compliance situation, their insurance situation, and their personal wealth management. Because these are not separate things. This is the number one mistake I see entrepreneurs make. They go out and they piece together these separate people for their business compliance and for their tax situation and for their personal wealth building, and they don't work together. Except that's the problem. Each one of these things actually depend on each other to maximize the savings. And I don't mean by a little bit, I mean by a ton. Because I trust True Wealth so much, I am sharing this with you right now, not as an ad, because I am not getting paid for this, but because I believe it's that important for you to explore. If you have a multiple six-figure business, preferably they're a good fit for those with a seven-figure business or close to it or higher, then I want you to hit pause real quick and set up a free call with my friends. Set up the call at chrisharder.me/wealth. That is chrisharder.me.me/wealth. I'm telling you, you can't afford to piece these things together anymore. You are wasting so much money. And if you're sick and tired of feeling like you're working too hard to have too little money left, these are the people that'll fix it, because there's a lot of money out there that you don't realize that could be left over that you don't have access to. So just set up the free call. They're my friends. I've literally never interrupted a podcast for something like this before, so you know it's important. Go to chrisharder.me/wealth, and then let me know how it goes. I'll let them know that you're calling. All right, back to the episode. People create extra products because they're afraid of losing a little bit of revenue by leaving certain buyers out. But the problem is, you're actually losing out on a lot of revenue by not maximizing the buyers that would be there if you were louder, prouder, and more consistent about your one flagship product. So it's easy to get distracted. We want to solve scarcity. It's easy to get distracted. We want to feel that feeling of creation. But it doesn't mean you're supposed to create. It doesn't mean you're supposed to add new products right now. Well, then, how do you know if you're supposed to? Because for many of you, you're not supposed to. But for some of you, it's probably time for a new product. So how do we actually know? Well, you have to be able to answer these three questions. I want you to write down these three questions. I want you to actually spend some time really journaling on these three questions. Spend some time really analyzing these three questions. And this will actually tell you if you need to add a different product or not. The first question is this: do you currently have a product that you love selling and servicing and that can scale to your goals and beyond? Right? So if you have $1 million goal, do you currently have a product that can get you to $1 million and beyond? If you have a $500,000 goal, do you currently have a flagship product that can get you to that $500,000 and beyond? See, once again, where people make a mistake, they're like, okay, I want to make $1 million this year. So I'm going to create something that can make 300 grand. I'm going to create another thing that can make 300 grand. I'm going to create a third thing that can make 200 grand. And I'm going to create a fourth thing that could make 200 grand. And that's $1 million. And then they're like, oh my gosh, why isn't it selling? Oh, I'm launching all the time. Oh, I'm so worn out. Yeah, because you just created so many things for the wrong reason. You could have gotten to that $1 million by selling one product or service really, really, really well to get to that $1 million. It's less energy. It's less stress. It's easier. It may not feel as fun, but it's easier. So that first question is, do you currently have a product that you love selling and servicing that can scale to your goals and beyond? If the answer is yes, then go more all in on it. If the answer is no, like you literally do the math, like, oh, this will never scale to my goals, then it's a clue that you probably do have to add or change a product. The second question to ask yourself is, do you have a large volume of people asking you for a different product over a long period of time other than what you already sell? And I mean a large volume, not like, boy, someone suggested I should do a course for these particular people. And then 6 months later, somebody else suggested I should do a course for the same group of people. And gosh, throughout the year, I've heard this 3 or 4 times. So maybe it's a sign. Guys, 3 or 4 times is not feedback. 3 or 4 times is just 3 or 4 people giving their random ass opinion who probably aren't educated enough to give you a random ass opinion. They're just sharing with you what they wish existed, but it doesn't mean there's a giant market for you to create that product for what that one person or those 4 people wish existed. So question number 2 is, do you have a large volume of people asking you over a long period of time? Is this a pattern? Asking you for a different product than you already sell? If the answer is yes, then that's a sign. And what you do next is you don't just create the product, you send out surveys and you send out research to find out if there's really a market there in your audience. And if the answer is no, then stop listening to the 1, 2, 3, 4 random people throughout the year and start listening to the current people that are already consuming your things on how you can sell more of that very same thing. And the third question to ask yourself is, are you thinking about adding a new product or service because your current product or services do not align with where you want to wake up in 24 months? This one's very important. We all know how we want life to be, what we want life to look like, how we want life to feel, what kind of money we want. We all know what we want that to look like about 2 years from now. And so, are you thinking about adding a new product or service because your current ones won't get you there when you wake up in 2 years? Or are you adding it because you're bored? Remember, the money, ironically, is in the monotony. The money is usually coming in pretty good right about when you're starting to get bored. Your huge influx of sales usually starts happening right about when you're like, oh, I've been doing this for a lot of years and I just don't think I want to be known for this anymore. If you want to be known for giving yourself a dopamine hit and always coming up with something new because it's fun, great. If you want to be known for having a shitload of money and being an expert at something and not having to kill yourself over marketing and be just doing crazy stuff, then stick with the monotony because you're almost there. You've worked so hard for so long to make this product or service or to make your reputation, one specific thing that you're known for. Don't suddenly pivot because you're bored. That's just being human. It's not being a business person. Does that make sense? Sometimes being human can be a real mindfuck because it makes us think we want one thing, but it doesn't necessarily tell us what's good for us. And in this case, I'm saying what's good for your business. So that third question is, are you thinking about adding a new product or service because your current ones do not align with where you want to wake up in 24 months? Or are you adding it because you're bored? I want you to remember that the money is in the monotony. The bottom line is this: don't get distracted. Don't chase the dopamine hit. I know it feels good, but you know what feels better? Having a shit ton of money coming in for a little bit easier effort. Be known for your expertise. That's where all the money is. You're watching Lori and I do this right now. Our new flagship program, when we wake up in 24 months, will be Mentor Collective Mastermind. I know a lot of people know us for the Elite Mastermind. That's going to become even more elite, even smaller, even harder to get in. And so that's not a flagship program that gets us to our financial goals. What gets us to our financial goals is a program like Mentor Collective Mastermind that can scale infinitely because we hire all of the coaches to be at your disposal 24/7 with the Coaching on Demand program. We hire coaches in every single area of expertise. So we've got a tech coach, we've got a marketing coach, we've got a social media coach, we've got a podcast coach, we've got a life and health coach. I mean, we have everything that is free within the program. And when we add more and more and more coaches like this, then we can add more and more and more people. It's got weekly calls. It's got everything that you possibly need. But the best part for Lori and I is it also is infinitely scalable because it takes a village to support the needs of all of our mastermind members, not just the two of us. If it's just the two of us supporting everybody's needs, then that's a ceiling. That wouldn't get us to our goals in 24 months from now. But if we enroll a really smart, talented village to take care of everybody's needs, which is exactly what Mentor Collective Mastermind is, by putting all these coaches on salaries and then saying to the members, hey guys, have at it, use them as much as you want. Well, that's infinitely scalable. And so we're not just telling you to do something, but not doing it ourselves. You're literally watching us do it in real time. And so if this is intriguing to you, like this idea of just going all in or mostly all in on one main thing, your flagship program, then ask yourself those 3 questions I shared earlier. Get it dialed in for 2026 and let's freaking go. And if you want our guidance on this, go check out Mentor Collective Mastermind. Matter of fact, I'm recording this right before Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and it's going to be 50% off. Go to chrisharder.me/mentor. That's chrisharder.me.me/mentor. chrisharder.me/mentor. And for just those few days and just for a few spots, because remember, we scale it slowly with the number of coaches we hire. So most of you won't get in on this, but a small number of you will get in on 50% off of Mentor Collective. So go check it out. chrisharder.me/mentor. All right, guys, let me know what your flagship program is. Maybe I'll share it. Love and appreciate you listening. Take care.
Thanks for listening. And if you loved this episode and know of someone else who is as successful as they are generous, please pass them on to me. It would mean the world to me if you help me get this cause and this message out to as many listeners as I can. So please, if you liked what you heard, it goes a long way if you take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review and share this with your friends. I'll be forever grateful. And until the next episode, cheers to your success.